So today we're going to talk about something that's potentially contentious, right? Something that hopefully doesn't get anyone upset. We're just talking about the advantages and disadvantages of either faction mastery versus meta chasing. Today on Onslaught Gaming 40K. Stay tuned and locked in. Woo-hoo, we're back, peoples. And we have my man, Mr. Reigel, who has opinions as always. What's up, brother? How you been?
I'm doing good. I'm also back. I'm ready to share my opinions. It feels like it's been forever. It's been 2 weeks, but it always feels longer.
Well, it's been several weeks. We've had some updates in the game of 40K for Grey Knights Black Templar, I believe. Also some MFM updates. But
Salamander's reskin.
Salamander's reskin, which is really nice. Vulcan Histan looks really nice.
Oh, and Votan.
Oh, and Votan. That's right. Love. Leagues of Votan. The Love Army.
They actually have depth now.
They're actually dynamic now from what I've heard. So really nice, man, for them to get some love and start being competitive, more competitive out there in the scene. I mean, they were doing great already in Canada. I know Ennis and those guys out there were doing great with that. So talk to us, brother. How's your week been, man? Nothing new for you?
Nah, just work and trying to find time to play. And this has been my first day off in 3 weeks. My first weekday off in 3 weeks. So I'm working a lot. Yeah, okay. Enjoyed my day off. Looking to get some games in this week. Hopefully, get some games next week. Get back into the swing of things. Get practice for Crucible, so I don't embarrass myself.
This is the perfect pick me up after getting absolutely starched today. My apologies, brother. Hopefully your day gets better. Hopefully we can lighten it up a little bit with a little bit of 40K knowledge, right? What do you think, Reigel?
I have no idea what starch means. I'm so far out of the lingo circle. I'm still trying to figure.
I'm assuming a very bad day.
Oh yeah, I can infer bad. I'm just trying to figure out what the tie down is. I don't.
Let us know, Max, what you thinking. So daily chill for EC Hype. We make it through this night meta. Yeah, man, they're gonna go down pretty soon. I hope they do not drop the data slate on Crucible Week. Games Workshop. You're probably not listening, but if you're listening, or if you hear this or someone mentions it, do not drop a data slate that week. All right, it's gonna be an utter nightmare, a logistical nightmare.
No. Let's tell everyone the lock-in date is, and drop the thing after the date, just increasing points. we all love playing on a stale meta, right?
Yeah, Knights and Thousand Suns, right? And Death Guard specifically. Death Guard, matter of fact, over the weekend, how did they do? Did you see how they did over the weekend, Death Guard?
I have not looked yet. How was it?
So they were in the first two top places for LSO. I think it was over. Yeah, LSO.
All right, why are you coming out? I thought you were going to give me some surprising news. That's where they've been for the past 2 months. That's not new.
This is where they continue to be at. This is what I'm saying. I'm not giving you good news. I'm telling you news. Bad news are good.
As for the Emperor Children, look, if you're an EC fan, daily is not consistent enough. You need to be second to second chilling for them, all right? You got to get extreme with it.
Indeed. And EC, man, EC is it seems to be a very faction-specific army, which is going to be our segue to lead us in to what we're going to talk about today, the topic, right? But EC, it's like you have to play that army. I see a lot of people who do play that army end up being, most of the time, faction specialists. People who love EC, love Slanesh, love the whole lore, have been playing demons until the new codex came out. So I've been seeing a lot of those. I know they're not meta chasing yet, right? A lot of people are not going to jump on the bandwagon just of yet. EC is not in the best position right now, but they will be, I think, in my opinion, in a better position once Knights and Death Guard are kind of settled down.
Well, the thing is, if Knights and Death Guard settle down, you still got Gene Sailor Cold and Thousand Suns to get past.
Yes, as faction specialists too. Speaking of which, right? So
Yeah,
we want to talk about faction specialist advantages today. We want to talk about meta chaser advantages as well. And we're going to talk about the disadvantages for both sides. Feel free to chime in if you have any questions. Feel free to comment right below. As always, make sure to like, share, subscribe, thumbs up. So first one, deep rules knowledge, right? As a faction specialist, one of the advantages is having deep rules knowledge. So mastering every nuance, stratagems, and strategies for your army. So that's one of the points. What would you feel is like one of the disadvantages, brother?
Well, you can certainly get into a certain kind of tunnel vision mindset.
Yep.
Where if there are tools your army doesn't have, a great example is some good friends of mine were, I wouldn't say faction specifically, but shooting army specialists. Knights, Guard, Tau, Sisters. Very much heavy on the long range aspect of the game. And so when it came to combat stuff, they were caught off guard because they didn't really know the nuance of piling in and that kind of stuff, as well as what's the word I'm looking for here? Ordering your activations or heroic intervention and how powerful that can be in some cases. And on the flip side, I didn't have a lot of practice going into melee matchups. And where I was a melee, I practiced a lot of melee, played a lot of Gene Sealers, specifically in Tyranids. I didn't have a lot of experience with target priority and shooting. So there's certainly a aspect of tunnel visioning where you miss out on the diversity, 28, 29 armies in the game and their own varying playstyles can give you.
Yeah, so you would say probably the lack thereof having a deep rules knowledge would be the antithesis of having a deep rules knowledge, right? So people
it's more of a specific rules knowledge versus general rules knowledge.
Got it. Okay. I agree.
Because, as a lot of people have said, we've said on the show before, this is mostly a mental game. It's very low physicality. Like, yeah, you're standing / leaning for 3 to 10, 11 hours over the course of an entire event or what game.
You need some endurance if you're playing 4 days. I'm just you need some endurance. But yeah.
Over almost the entire time, it's working up here from deployment to looking at your next matchup, who the army's going to be, the layout, even before the event, the layouts that are available, the missions you're going to be playing. So there is a certain level of, like, if you only practice 3 missions, you'd be an expert at those 3 missions. The other 13 would be a mystery to you, but those 3 you'd have on lock.
Yep.
So
as a meta chaser, as an advantage for a meta chaser, right? Always with the top tools on the first one. Playing statistically the strongest armies at any given patch, right? So running into the game, as it's an advantage, basically what I'm saying is it's an advantage for you to run into the game playing what's the best at that moment. It's very difficult for people to adjust to it. It's more of a challenge if you understand or if you've seen the information prior, right? Like leaked information on Reddit and things like that. So you have that opportunity to actually go out there and compete and be more knowledgeable a lot faster by having those tools and having the strongest army. So, for example, there were some people over the weekend that came over at one of my events with Black Templar. Black Templar, it looks and seems to be in a good position. Grey Knights look to seem in a good position as well. Nobody knows until we start fully play testing out, but they're looking really good right now. They played them at the RTT. Other armies were played. Death Guard, different varying levels of skills were played out, and Grey Knights ended up winning. Could you say that maybe having that army the day of the RTT was an advantage for them, right? Or a disadvantage for the community? Is it cup half full, cup half empty, right? Is just knowing or being a specialist in Grey Knights and then you coming first day the new codex is allowed and you play it, is that an advantage as well? there are different ways with this, right? So I think there's multiple levels of advantages for this title in particular, and a lot of disadvantages as well. What do you think, Regal?
I think a specific nuance, I don't know if you were going to touch on or not, but as far as, meta chasing versus faction specialty.
There's points that we're going to touch on, so.
Yeah. To what you were saying, I think there's also a point of like playstyle speciality. So maybe someone who isn't a Grey Knight specialist, but sees, gets their book and sees, oh, I can run 6 Dread Knights and, a couple Tech Marines. Well, that's super similar to all Dread Knight Custodies,
Yep.
So I think depending on what, is good in the meta, and like you said, there's a cup half empty thing where, maybe they only had 3 or 4 days to test it out between getting models, painting them up, and actually putting them on the table. So, and maybe in that time, maybe they do play against Knights, play against Death Guard, play against Thousand Suns, the top predators. And then at the event, they get thrown into Tau, and they're like, oh, roll dice and hope. Yeah,
broadsided, all pun intended.
So I do think there is a certain level of push and pull of you can bring the cool new thing, but you're not as experienced because we've seen with many codexes where the codex comes out for an army that had an index for months or years at this point. Like Votan's a great example. Votan players are largely starting from scratch.
Yeah,
this is their second one. Grudge tokens are gone. And the way their army mechanic is going to take some getting used to. Characters do different things now because of that. So you could be a Votan specialist, but you're basically starting with, at least 50% of a new army.
Yep.
So.
And it's an advantage too, I think. In all of my experience, right, I think it is an advantage going to an event, bringing a brand new codex, and you being a specialist or even a meta chaser running that, you're at a great advantage at that event.
Yeah, I think, to use a more personal example, you play World Eaters. And, I remember talking to you when the World Eaters Codex first came out, and you were like, I don't know where to go with this. You're like, some of it looks good, but it's not the same. Your exact words were, it's not the same army anymore.
It's not, yeah. It's not.
And so I to your point, I do think that there is, there's a temptation to look at someone with the new hotness, like, oh, you just want what's good because it's new. But also remember, hey, you might have 20, 80 games on your army, your list. They're going to have like 2 to 10 max.
Yep.
So
now let's talk about another advantage for meta chasing and then the disadvantage for that as well. Faster access to winning results. Can jump into proven lists without long testing phases. So you can just basically get in there, right? And get those winning results, win that GT, win that super major, because you have the best list. And if you can pilot the best list, which a lot of people do at multiple events, right? There's a ton of people who go to multiple events and will literally have 3 carbon copies of that exact faction and that army list and everything attached to it, including the detachment. So, and people try to pilot it and become a meta chaser and hopefully use that as their advantage.
Yep.
What's your sentiments about that, brother? And what do you feel is a disadvantage for that?
So the disadvantage to what is essentially net listing, finding a list and taking as your own is, it's proven, but you don't know why it's proven. You didn't build it. You didn't test it over games and matches and maps and missions. You don't know why X, Y, and Z units in there, what leaders joined what units and what situations. A good example is Grey Knights. There was a Grey Knight list that had, 2 Paladins and a Terminator squad, 10, 10, and 10, 3 Librarians and Drago, and some Purifier squads and strike squads. And depending on the list, or depending on the opponent, Librarians would go into squads, Librarians would stay out and do mission objectives, Drago would join the Paladins or the Terminators, depending. There was only, 9, 10 units, but the variation was quite extreme and polarizing depending on what was required for the mission.
Yep.
And if you didn't build, list, and test it, you might just, kind of just cookie cutter go with the same thing every time without understanding that little bit of advantage you're missing out on.
Yep. No, I agree.
So that's the disadvantage. Is certainly you have the power, but you don't really have the full potential of why it's powerful without further testing on your own.
Yeah, I think another disadvantage is that too is people get these false expectations because they see someone who's doing it and then they don't actually put in the work. This is what you were talking about previous to the show, right? Those are the type of people who have these they tell themselves these lies, right? That they're gonna run and pilot this army because they saw such and such run it and they won multiple GTs with it, or they've seen people winning with the death guard, so they're gonna play it. A lot of people end up setting themselves up for failure because their expectations are way too high. So,
Yep.
so then in retrospect, a lot of people end up getting upset. They become dickheads in the game, and that's exactly not what we want. So I think, and I don't think that that's synonymous, just to let you know, right? Just to let the community know. I don't think that meta chasers are synonymous with being a dick. I think people are synonymous with that, right? So any category, you could be a faction specialist. I've seen world leaders, faction specialists that live angry man in real life, like they are real angry man. I'm like, relax. But with that being said, it could be a detriment. It could definitely be a disadvantage to them by them expecting to do a lot better than they might.
Yep. Nope. And I mean, I've told many times in here about people who go into Tyranids and go, oh, this army, this list is, good. It has a good win rate in Tyranids. And then they lose and they're like, what happened? And I'm like, I don't know, man.
Yep.
We played the game. Yep. Like, so it's, it's this point. I'm not going to do this on most of them, but specifically this one, I would really want to drive home. Do your own work with a list. Even if you change nothing about the net list, learn why it works. Like I'm not against net listing. I think it's a good way to, further the community as a whole. Like, rising tide raises all ships kind of thing. There's a reason no one's running 300 gaunts right now in Tyranids. It's not because it just doesn't work. If it worked, I promise you, there are people who would be. There were people who were before, and this one was nerfed.
Yep.
But so there's no shame and no problem with it as far as I'm concerned, and most people shouldn't be. But there is shame in picking it up on Wednesday, never playing it, taking it Saturday, losing, and then blaming the list because someone else won with it, so you thought you could. That is not the way.
Manage your expectations realistically, people. Do what you need to do. Have fun. Do what you want, right? But have fun, but manage those expectations realistically. So going on to another advantage for being a faction specialist, consistency in play style. So there's no need for you to have a reset or a switch in factions. You continue with muscle memory, things like that. So when you're building lists, you're remembering the points cost, you're remembering the equipment on them, right? You're remembering just about everything, every single choice of enhancements that you have, every single stratagem that you have available to you, which one you can use and have utility with if you change your list and change a unit out, things like that. So those are the advantages for that. What do you want to add on to that, brother? What do you think might be a disadvantage for it?
The disadvantage, and actually this is one I experienced personally, when I first, joined the channel, I was experimenting with Slaanesh. Don't too deep into that. And I had a lot of fun with it. This was before, they got their own detachment and Slaanesh was good. I just really like keepers and the playstyle.
Yeah.
Problem was I went back to Tyranids and I was significantly worse because I had to learn a whole new army, whole new skill set. And when I started playing Slaanesh, I was bad at it because I went from having, 14-ish, 15 units and spore mines and lictors to like 8 units and four greater demons and Bellacore and like 3 little whatevers. And it just that's why I stopped playing demons, because it was cutting into my Tyranid time and I could like see the difference in games.
Love it. Sir. That is amazing. You deserve an achievement for that.
What's funnier than that, but than the joke itself, is I read that and I'm like, what is child safe shampoo? Oh, then it hit me. But no, to the point of, kind of play style specialization is if you meta chase, spread yourself out over armies, even in similar factions like Marines. If you go from playing Ultramarines to Space Wolves to Black Templars to Grey Knights, that's a wide variety of skills you need to bring to bear to represent effectively. I'm going to keep vamping because I think his camera froze. Or mine froze, I don't know. But I'm going to keep talking to pretend like everything's all good until I'm told otherwise. But yeah, so, the pro to specializing is learning your army, the ins and outs, the play style, the tricks. He left. All right, guys, you just got me here. So, behave yourselves until, the adults get back. The con here, the downside to doing this would be that, like I said, jumping, from one to the other is drastically, and sometimes not even drastically, but it can be drastic impacts. Even going from, to use Anime Squirrel as an example, he went from Tau to Sisters, which he played both shooting heavy, but they had different mechanics. Sisters were a bit more defensible despite their data sheets because of Miracle Dice and more prevalent invulns, Ghost Keels with blanking damage. And then now he's on Chaos Knights, which are even more durable than Sisters just because of raw bodies and toughness, but they're significantly less utilitarian than Tau or Sisters, simply because, Knights. So he's had to learn multiple skill sets across 3 armies, and to his credit, he's doing it, and he's having fun. He's not meta chasing or anything. He's playing what he wants to play, but there is a certain, lack of knowledge from playing one for a few months, going to another. And again, just because it has a downside doesn't mean it's bad. Oh, thank God you're back. I'm not nearly responsible enough to do this on my own.
Listen, I had a very, very loud thunder and lightning must have hit like my next door neighbor because it put out my power. Was it
very, very frightening?
It was very frightening and lightning.
I was just telling them that just because these have downsides doesn't mean, one way's better than the other. I'll tell you that tunnel visioning and playing one army is better because it's what's brought me success. But there are plenty of people, particularly at the top of the game, who play 5 or 6 armies year round. And they're much better than I am. So there is, credence to both. Maxwell,
right.
Absolutely. If I could play the amount of games I wanted to play, I would run, my Tyranids, Necrons, and probably even some Demons, but I barely got time to just run my Nids. So you are 100% correct.
Yep. No, I mean, I don't think I have the want. I have the bandwidth to do meta chasing, but that's not my style, first of all. And so I don't have the want to do it, right? I don't think there's nothing wrong with it. I don't think there's nothing inherently wrong with meta chasing.
Well, we weren't. I wasn't specifically meta chasing. It was, focusing on, faction specializing versus generalizing. And I used anime as an example, going from Tau to Sisters to Chaos Knights. Where you never really get. It's even though he plays them all heavily shooting. There's intricacies and rules he's had to learn and relearn. Yep. He's not meta chasing, but it's still, a similar. It was an antidote. To back up my point, I was vamping till you got back.
I got you. So moving on to the faction specialist advantages, and thank you for holding the crowd, my brother, so much. So we're going to talk about meta adaptation from within, going back to being a faction specialist. So this is what I would consider myself currently doing is meta adaptation. I been playing World Eaters since the Codex came out. Now, because of Knights, I'm adapting within multiple layers because there's different levels to this, right? Like you can build within your Codex and still jump to different detachments. I'm staying within the same detachment and just changing out units to adapt to the current meta. So things like I've tried Angron, Mauler Fiends, 20-man units of Berserkers with Karn, with Sus 1 and Lethal. Things like that to just really get out there. Black Templars coming out too. I mean, It's really nice to have a 20-man Berserker squad with Karn, and you're getting hit by Black Templar, and you fight on death, and you just obliterate that unit, right? So those are my adaptations within the within. So there's different levels to this. What would you say, Regal?
First of all, I agree that there are different levels. Like with Tyranid, subtraining Assault really upped the power, but didn't do much else.
Yep.
So I'm actually, my first thing, like you, I'm looking to Vanguard to stay with the detachment I've been playing rather than Subterranean or even, Invasion Fleet for army-wide lethal hits against Knights or sustained hits against infantry like Death Guard. I'm looking at Vanguard where I'm most comfortable in seeing what I can do there first. Now, the downside to this, and this goes back to a point we've made many, many times, and the point you made not too long ago, which is you got to manage your expectations. Yep. Sometimes there isn't a good answer. Sometimes there isn't an answer at all. There are some things which is good for the game. It's good that not every detachment, and in fact, most detachments, have a few weak spots to be exploited. That we do not want a infallible army with an infallible detachment, infallible units. That is how you get beginning of 10th Eldar. And we don't want
Gladius. Gladius, you're saying, huh? Gladius.
Yeah. Pre-Bolter Discipline nerf Gladius, yes.
Faction specialist always complains about Purge the Foe. Proceeds to never lose a game in Purge. Shots fired. Shots fired, bro.
I specialized in it.
Recon by fire. Shots fired.
You'll remember back to the beginning of the episode when I said if you only practice 3 missions, you'll become fantastic and specialized in them. Guess what one of the 3 was for me?
Of course, because that's what I love to terrorize the whole community with. Because when the edition first came out, they were like, I hate Purge the Foe. Purge the Foe. I hate it. Everyone. I was like, all right, keep on telling me how much you hate it. I'm going to keep it on.
It's me. I'm everyone, guys. But
he's right. You became a faction specialist, a mission specialist.
Well, and that's I'm going to bring it back up because that brings up a good point to what I was just saying is that that is a problem for Tyranids, for GSC. Tau hated Purge the Foe. There are lots of armies that played orcs to a certain extent because you had all those trucks and other things, Storm Boys and whatnot. This is a weakness that I had to personally plan around. Is if I saw Purge the Foe in a mission pack, it was in every mission pack. I had to play around it.
That's right.
So, to your point, you can't, staying as a faction specialist, you do kind of have shackles. This is actually, a downside is, like right now in the night meta for Tyranid, there's not a good answer. I'll be real with you guys. There are answers I can find. The new Raveners are a relatively good one, but still, if I see, 4 big guys, 5 small guys across me, or Canis and 12 dogs, I'm just doing my best.
Bend over, kiss your ass goodbye.
Yeah, like full disclosure, at that point, my only option is be better than my opponent because army for army, they're beating me. But
so go ahead, brother. Finish.
I was just saying that is the downside is whether you stay in your detachment and especially staying within a faction, be prepared to accept your answer might just have to be better than they are, or hope you have advantageous terrain or mission.
Now, here's a con or a disadvantage by staying locked into a detachment like I do. I'm going to have severely less tools to deal with the meta than a meta chaser would, right? Severely less tools. Obviously, I am so isolated. I am down the pendulum all the way into my detachment, and I only have those options. And when I say those options, I mean stratagems to specifically call out particular keywords. Maybe infantry only, maybe monsters only, or maybe 8-bound only. Meaning, I'm severely handicapping myself even more if I continue in that detachment and I can't, appropriately adapt to the meta. So that's what I would consider a down or a disadvantage for that.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like I said, it's a bit of a millstone around your neck, if you will, kind of holding you back, which is fine. There's again, it's good. These are good things. It's good Tyranids can't just look at a knight army and go, yeah, I can handle that, while also looking at an elf and an orc and a custodian army and shrugging. But another thing here, see that he says you're the reason he's practiced supply drop so much to help out his weak points.
No, I mean, I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate the flowers, man. But you're the real reason why you're gonna get great at it. Those are the things you want to do, right? You want to tighten up the weaknesses that you have in your game, and you go play people that might have that particular skill too. This game, I mean, I could sit here with Reigel 24 hours talking about 40K, the different levels of 40K, right? And talking about how deep this rabbit hole really goes. The understanding that you can literally have a friend who is just good at deployment. And I have a friend like that. I'm not mentioning no names, but he is excellent at deploying. He is excellent at positioning in front deployments and repositioning. Everything else, probably subpar. But that individual is amazing. And then you can pick up those skills from that individual and be like, okay, I'm going to add this to my tool belt and then continue on, right? So you can always learn something from someone, I think, in my opinion.
100%. I've learned Recon by Fire has taught me plenty of stuff, mainly to slow down when I play. He is a wonderful opponent and super meticulous, makes very few mistakes, makes very, very few misuses of stratagems or I think on all the games we've played, I've only seen him make 2 positional mistakes. And there were mistakes I would have made. So whereas me, I like to play fast because I try to beat the clock. But doing that, I've missed stuff. There have been many times where I've gotten real good at making sure lictors are 7.9 away from any objective or ruin wall I want to be behind, because there have been many times where I've been just a centimeter or 2 off of getting behind a wall or onto an objective.
I agree. So moving on to the meta chaser advantages. So point number 3 is a broad army knowledge. Basically the opposite of what we were just talking about, how I am, right? You know all the armies, which is amazing knowledge to have. My people, to know every single faction or to have played every single faction in the game is huge. To even have tried it out, even sitting across from your friend and say, hey, bud, let me try out your army one time. Let me get a good understanding, build a list, and let's play a game just so you get a good understanding. Because when you play against that army, as most of us already know, you're going to know what you need to do. You're going to know how to prioritize so much better. You're going to understand the intricacies. Biggest thing for novice players, or for just period, for individuals that just don't like the gotchas, right? Because most of the gotchas is usually the person who's complaining's fault, because they don't have the knowledge required to understand what the other faction has, right? And they automatically think that their opponent is supposed to sit there and recite everything throughout the game. It's actually not that. That's not the case. It's just like clock etiquette. Clock etiquette is not on your opponent to help you when he clicks to his turn. It's up to you to click over when he's done at his turn and to remind him to tell you to do so, right? So cup half full, cup half empty type deal. Just understanding that, you will know you will be obviously a better player by understanding. Watch different videos. Don't just watch your faction. Watch different battle reports. Go watch Recon by Fire, right? And watch different armies just so you have an understanding of what Grey Knights might do. I think that was his newest one. He just dropped one today or yesterday, but it was like Grey Knights versus Knights. A wonderful example of what we're talking about. So,
to your point, I want to, and I'm assuming our fans watching will understand, but just to be clear, he is not saying don't tell your opponent your rules. Of course, have good etiquette, be a gentleman, say, hey, if you move out here, I can Overwatch, even though I Overwatched over there because this lets me do it for free. Let them know you have them. But a good, example to what you were saying, why I was nodding, is Vanguard Invaders has a stratagem where I can make any Vanguard unit a lone operative for 18 inches. And if they're already a lone operative, meaning lictors or the Parasite of Mortrex, it shrinks to 6.
Yep.
And I tell people that, and they're like, oh, that's cool at the beginning of the game. And then we get, an hour, half in till bottom of 2, top of 3, and they go to do something to one of my lictors. I'm like, hey, they're like, oh, I'll get 11.9 away. I'm like, hey, I can shrink lone op to 6.
Yep.
And like, they'll have to rethink their entire movement phase because, like, I told them, but it happens.
We could do a whole show on audibles and just adjusting in the game. A whole show.
Yeah, I'm thinking more to the feels bads where they heard it, but they didn't really process what that actually means. You got to move 5 extra inches closer to ensure you're going to get the shots you thought you had.
Yep.
And I play a very honest game, overly honest sometimes because I know how the tricks can feel, reactive move into low nopping. But yeah, that is certainly a pro to being, a meta chaser. Having a wide berth of armies is the knowledge game. Like I said earlier, this is, an 80% mental game. And I as well watch many armies I never play. I have a ton of, Thousand Sons knowledge because I've only played them twice at tournaments, never even in a casual game. But I have continued to research them because they are, such a rare. Same with AdMech. I've never played AdMech ever, but I have a working knowledge of what they want to do and what they can do if I ever need to go up against them.
Yep.
And there's a saying that's pretty popular in the community. I didn't coin it. I'm not going to take credit for it, but we've said it here before. And that is, if you are making a plan for your opponent as you walk up to the table, you've probably already lost. If you're not better than them anyway, that's not going to do you any favors.
No, Recon, this is a great point, right? The funny thing is, the better your opponent plays, the better you end up playing. Reminding your friend of gotchas teaches you how to set up where even if your opponent sees them. 100%. But also, it's very subjective in what you feel as gotchas. Once again, right? Like, some people expect you to walk them through everything. Tell them everything. There's a lot of things that can't be defined as gotchas. I understand exactly where you're coming from, Recon. This is not a debate between me and you. This is more so for me to educate the community so they have a good understanding of what the negative things should not be doing or shouldn't be happening in those interactions, right? You don't want someone just not interacting in that way, right? Not telling you, like Regal's point, where you're not explaining things. You want that person to explain things. You want to be able to ask them also. And that's the thing that people lack as well, that they don't ask themselves. If you start seeing a unit move on the tabletop, hey, what does that unit do? Do they have reactive moves? How far can they advance and charge? That's one of those things, right? And then when you start moving your units, hey, do you have anything around here that can reactive move? Do you have... Then the moment that they have lied to you, that's a gotcha. That's the moment for a whole different conversation.
And to this point, back to the pros and cons thing, there's another pro here where if you know someone's rules, you can actually help them play honestly. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and assume that people cheat on purpose. I mean, we know some people do, but I've made honest mistakes playing games. 40K, I'm sure General has. I'm sure you people in the chat have. Misread the timing of a strat or, confused shot count with strength count with looking at your data sheet real quick. So if you know rules, and it's happened both in friendly and competitive games where someone's like, oh, I'm going to use this fight on death stratagem. And I'm like, hey, isn't that beginning of the fight phase, not when you're targeted? Because we're like 3 activations deep here.
Yep.
And they're like, it's happened to me where I'm like, oh, I'm going to use this strat to pick up some guys. And my opponent's like, hey, isn't that the end? Isn't the end of my turn, not beginning of yours? And he was right. So I'm like, cool, I'm not going to pick him up. Like it's this, because when you're, again, assuming someone's not trying to cheat you, there are a million things going on, your side, their side, keep track of the score, keep track of the time, all this stuff. Couple of words could very easily get mixed up, dropped, whatever. So it's good to be able to say, hey, I thought your rule worked this way, because if you don't know, you don't know.
Yep. And
then also they might go to their next opponent and continue doing it. So it's good for your own knowledge of how to play around it, and also to, just help the community as a whole be like, hey, and yes, it's not your job to play their army for them, But again, when these little innocent mistakes, if it happens 5 or 6 times in a row, maybe call a judge. But like once in the course of a 3-hour game, me personally, I'm not perfect. I'm willing to be like, all right. Yep, exactly. Right here. This is a perfect one. Beginning of the shooting phase, are you going to pop in, linear living fortresses? If they say no, or, if they're your two shooting activations in, like, oh, I'm going to pop it now. If you didn't know what the timing was, you might let them.
Yep. Yeah, no, true. Good point. Good point you bring up, Recon. Moving on to the faction specialist advantages. Point number 4 is emotional investment. Obviously, we all know, right? You love that faction. You're a faction specialist. You go crazy for that, right? You go crazy for that faction like I do. I love World Eaters. I love everything about World Eaters. I have banners of World Eaters. I'm very emotional about my World Eaters. Now, I'm not emotional in game when I'm playing the games. Like, oh, my World Eaters have my toys have to win today. If not, I will go and rage.
There's just a chainsaw. There's just a chainsaw idling next to your dice.
Burn, maim, kill. Just go bananas. Just start shadow boxing like that one guy. Sing it. So, what I would say about that, obviously, is the disadvantage of being emotional about your army is that you could, like what we're saying, be emotional about your games that you lose, right? Because that's your baby, that's your everything. I've met people like that. I've talked to people like that. Like, this is my baby. I'm gonna keep on making it work. Why? I've even seen people like in a depressive state because their army has been in a very shitty position, right? So that's the disadvantage of it, man. Don't put your heart all the way in it, dude. I guess.
This is a great point.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, but meta chasers are usually getting people paid, people to paint their stuff. So,
look,
or borrow your friend's stuff. Right?
There is a hidden benefit to being an active meta chaser that I don't think is on your list. I don't know his list, by the way, everyone. I'm getting this point by point just as you are, but I'm going to go ahead and guess that the hidden 11th benefit is having the money to meta chase and buy armies, on a 2 to 3 month cycle.
That is the hidden one, especially if you want to play AdMech. Especially if you want to play AdMech. You got to be rich to play that army.
No, at that point, you're getting away a couple body parts, an appendix, a kidney.
Batman rich, bro. Batman rich.
But, no, and the ugly, unfortunately for this one, it's not really a disadvantage. It's because there's, like we've said, we are all invested in this game. We spend the money, spend the time, travel, away from our families, make various sacrifices to play a game, and so we all are passionate to some extent. And the downside to that is, unfortunately, some of the community can get very like faction elitist.
Yeah.
It goes from just expressing joy and even devotion to your faction to actively taking away other people's joy for not playing your faction.
See, but the problem with this, Recon, the problem with this statement, okay, is that you end up doing this for orcs, and you end up building 5 different armies in time, and you're like, I have 72,000 points in orcs. What am I going to do with this? And that's where I'm sitting right now. I'm embellishing with the 72,000 points, but I have at least 24,000 points of orcs, bro, because of that right there.
I have to go back and regroup and keep track, but last I saw, I had like 32,000 points of Tyranids.
This is bananas, dude.
90 of them are Gene Stealers. I only run 30 now, so I just not counting 10 for GSC. I just have 50 extra Gene Stealers just sitting on the shelf. But there's nothing wrong with being passionate as long as your passion doesn't, like the most glaring example is, generalized community hate for, Tau.
Yeah.
Tau players have done nothing. It's just this, Sorry. 7K range. Jesus.
That
know
was
what?
an ultra popular tournament, roughly 7,000 points range. Yeah, no, I'm good. That's like a whole day.
I skipped over the Ultra Apocalypse and just thought he was telling everyone to bring 7,000 points.
I don't even want to play in that. That's a whole week. That's like BattleTech first edition, man. That's like 2 weeks of gameplay, and we're still only on the portion where we're like doing body or wounds on different components.
All right, day 1 deployment.
Yep. Exactly.
God help you with all your scout moves.
Oh my gosh. So going back into the advantages to now a meta chaser. The ability to exploit trends, obviously the antithesis of, or the epitome of what we're talking about today, rather, right? Is that you're meta chasing, right? You're using an army that you can use currently that people have little to maybe no knowledge in. You run it the week after it's released at a super major, and you win. And a lot of people have this information, a little bit earlier than others. Even in the world of leaks on Reddit, okay? Let's just keep it there. Even in the world of leaks on Reddit, there are still people who don't go on social media to learn that information.
Yep. Nope. I got nothing on this one. I just think, there's being able to have that flexibility to get in early with some stuff. I remember back in Psychic Awakening when all the Psychic Awakening books were being leaked like 2 weeks early. I was, me and my friends were playing, Eldar, Tyranid, Tau games with new rules that weren't even printed in books yet, just because they were being leaked. And no, we weren't the only ones, but like you said, there are people who don't get on social media or engage in those communities, or even, it just has a bad connotation, but it's not a bad thing. Purists who only play by what's printed, who even if they had knew about it, wouldn't use it until it was actually out, which is the way they should do it, to be clear. But yeah, there is a certain advantage there to having that, and there's not really a solution for this because it's a competitive game. So if there's stuff accessed early, people are going to use it. So Recon by Fire asks, he says, question, is there an emotional and mental difference when you win an event with the new hotness versus your favorite faction? So I'm going to go ahead. Well, I've never won an event, but I can tell you.
What?
Well, hold on. But I have relevant answer. Give me a minute.
Hold on. You can't say that publicly. Now everyone's going to drop.
No. See, I give them hope. If someone like me can get on here and talk to them, think of what people who have won events can do.
They're like, you're like the little banana looking guys. They're like, just like me. He's just like us. He's just like me. Got it.
I did come in second at an event with Slanesh, and I just took it was a little RTT. I went, had fun, and wasn't really even trying to place. I just wanted to take some models I liked and see how I did at a smaller event, not a GT or anything. Now, looking back, I'm glad I did. But if I'd have brought Tyranids, I could have won first place. One, I wouldn't have had the points deduction that I had, but two, I could have, potentially scored more points with an army I was more familiar with than just, only having one practice game.
Yeah.
So emotionally, I was kind of surprised, but mentally I was very proud of myself because before that tournament I had one game. And Slanesh wasn't the new hotness for the community or for the game, but for me it was. But, going over to someone who has won a few events with armies that he's passionate about, what do you think?
I think it's the same for me. A win is a win. It doesn't matter. I don't get more sentimental about one than the other. A win is a win. That's my whole goal to go to the tournament is to win. Now, is it more? I wouldn't say emotional. Is it more satisfying? If you've had a lot of losses and jumped through a lot of hoops, yeah, I would assume someone would be, right? I'm not saying I'm the greatest player in the world, but I am saying, like, I don't lose enough to be depressed about it or be mad about it, right? Like,
Well,
I don't get into a position to be like, I suck, like, you know.
I think the question is more like, if you take your world eaters and you go and you win, a local GT, right? You're gonna be pretty proud of yourself, your army. But if you're going to, I don't know, say a team event, and someone's like, "Hey, man, we really need you on these Space Wolves. Here's our buddy Ryan's full Space Wolf 2,000 point, net list, just Wolfguard Terminators and Logan, and just take this list and run it." And you end up getting best general with that list you just thrown into your lap. Is there a difference for you?
Like I did in real life?
Okay, then never mind. All right, next point. Man over here is like, look, I'm just in it for the blood.
I'm in it for the blood.
I don't care about the weapon.
That's it, man. I mean, no, not really. It doesn't matter to me. Does it?
Anime, get this man your Tau list. I want to test something.
I do. I would love to play Tau, dude. Like,
you know what? Sorry, that was the wrong army. I need our buddy with his Ultramarines. We're gonna put you on some Space Marines.
Oh no, hell no! I quit. I quit the game. I quit the game. So another advantage, getting back to our faction specialist versus meta chasing, is community recognition as well as a faction specialist. People knowing you as a faction specialist, knowing that you play this particular thing, national scenes, things like that. Actually, I had this experience a very long time ago, and I'll mention his name because he's no longer in the scene and it's harmless. His name was Cass Cornell, all right? And he came to an Orlando GT one time. And he hadn't seen me maybe 5 or 6 years. I was playing Harlequins at that time. And he was like, "Where are your Space Wolves?" I was like, "I got my Harlequins." He was like, "I've always known you to play Space Wolves. Why aren't you playing Space Wolves? It doesn't feel the same that you're not playing Space Wolves." And I said, "Listen, Space Wolves fell off a ledge, and I wasn't willing to jump off the ledge with them." So, so I hopped on the newest thing, which you could consider meta chasing, I guess, but really wasn't part of the meta. I just jumped on the new hype train, which was Harlequins. And insult to injury, right? I tried to paint up my Harlequins army to be competitive for the GTs the year the Harlequins were broken. I couldn't get them painted in time to even compete until they got nerfed. Serves me justice, doesn't it?
I'm with you, Maxwell. A win after a lose streak is just because at that point you've earned it.
Yeah.
To your point about recognition, I'm not super widely known in the community at large, but I have had a few people at events like, "Oh, hey, we know you're on Lewis's show," and also I'm known as like the Tyrannid guy. There are many people I don't even know, just through various other communities I'm on, Facebook, Discord, who will message me or tag me and ask me a question about Tyrannid strategy. I've never met these people. They'll just tag me and be like, "Hey, what do I do against Vanguard, or how do I beat Assimilation Swarm, or like what do you, is this unit good into Norns?" And it's funny because like if I start commenting on like demon talks, like people talk about demons leaving lists, I'll chime in, and the people almost be like, "What are you doing here? These aren't bugs."
Yeah.
So there is a certain level of like you said, recognition, because armies are complex. Armies are not one dimension. Even the simplest armies have stratagems, timings, not coherency, what's what I'm looking for,
sequencing,
where things like work together for better. God, I can't think of the name.
Synergize.
Yeah, synergies. Thank you so much.
Yes,
synergies that if you don't play it, you won't see. Like I've talked to Anime plenty of times about Sisters of Battle, gone on and on about how different units could work together, and he's like, "That's not true. That doesn't work. That's the wrong timing." And I'm like, "Why do you even come to me? I don't know, Sid. Like, what are you talking to me for?" Yeah. Yes, you can. Take it. That one I can comment on. He can't because he doesn't lose enough. But I'll tell you, you can absolutely be known as that guy. For those of you who don't know my history of playing this game, the reason that anime gives me so much grief and I give it back to them. When I started,
loser bracket, wow.
I started playing back in 8th edition, and I lost somewhere around 80 to 100 games in a row.
Wow.
Against Knights and Tau and Astra Militarum and Elves. I just lost and lost. Turns out, charging 40 Gene Stealer or 80 Gene Stealers at your opponent's face with no terrain doesn't win games. So, but on the back of all those games, I learned, positioning. I learned how to score. I learned how to do secondaries, skills that I've carried forward to now that have brought me up to where I'm at. Many, many, many Tyranid bioforms died to put me on this hill.
All right, you don't gotta call me out like that. Anime, shout out to Anime, by the way.
I think that's the Recon's chilling in the loser bracket.
Yeah,
but I will say,
and Recon, I didn't see this. Anytime, buddy. Anytime, you can jump on my shoulders.
I will say, it's sad, and a lot of people probably take it as like just a feel good, but it's true. You learn more from your losses if you can keep yourself from getting salty in your feelings and actually like sit down and analyze. I've had games where I've said, to both Recon Anime and to you, where I'm like, I don't know what I could have done. Give me an hour or two, or the next day, I'm like, you know what? I could have done this, and this. That's like 15 points right there. So, loser bracket's not a bad place to be.
So moving on to our next advantage in the faction specialist department. Point number 6, so kind of harping on what you were talking about previous, but the opposite. Less financial pressure, right? So no need to constantly be buying into new factions, new units, new things, right? If you don't have the liquidity, faction specialist sounds really, really good. It puts you in a position where you don't have to spend a lot of money unless you're playing orcs. My lord. My goodness. Orcs will break the bank every day of the week.
Like I said, I have 32,000 points of Tyranids, probably 36, somewhere in there. I am so close to having a full capacity of every unit. So close.
And obviously, we know the disadvantage, right, or the advantage of meta chasing, or the disadvantage, rather, right? They got to spend a lot of money. So
either that or be really well connected with people who will let them borrow armies.
That too.
One of the two. But yeah, no, that's this is a quick one. Yeah, either that's full disclosure. Part of why I focus so hard on Tyranids is just financially. I was like, look. Like I have a Necron. I bought Necrons when they were on, discounted everywhere by the middle of 9th, and I even have a GSC army started. I don't have the money to finish this GSC for anywhere near this competitive season. Yeah. So, but it is. I will have GSC eventually, probably by middle of next year, but not soon.
Nah, not soon. All right, my peoples, we're about a little bit over halfway. We're gonna pay the bills real quickly. We'll be right back. This is going to be one of our sponsors at Crucible. So hopefully you see us there at Crucible, September 19th to the 21st. He will be present at the show. Hang tight. Now with a word from our sponsor, Baron of Dice. Baron of Dice is your one-stop shop for premium wargaming dice. Our dice are made with premium resin materials and colored dyes. Each die is hand-mixed to the desired result and then carefully swirled with 2, 3, or 4 colors in a silicone mold before being laser engraved with a wicked symbol and finished in a matte or gloss polish. There are no imperfections in our dice, no balancing issues, no micro bubbles or mold lines. This is the difference between. You can, quite literally, feel and hear a difference with our dice. Whatever game you play, whatever style your team or faction rocks, we're sure to have something to elevate your game. With over 500 styles and over 4,000 customer reviews, welcome to the best dice on the planet. Now back to our show. Also, they're going to have some really gnarly World Leaders dice there too. So I'm going to have to pick up a few. Need more. Like I need more dice in my world. I have a Royal Crown bag like this full of just dice. Yes, money moves.
Oh, it's what Maxwell said.
Yeah, I see that. Specialize in whatever people are rage selling. If you want to go easy. Yeah, Recon said something about that earlier. Basically, after it gets nerfed, you just buy it then. Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Just pick up the armies and have them, you know, if you have the space, do it.
One last thing to just, we've said it before, but I'll keep saying it because I firmly believe it. Buy what you want, buy what you have fun with, you know, what's your style of play. You know, don't, if you want to buy something because it's good, because your style of play is playing what's good and winning, more power to you. But
don't complain when you're losing.
Don't, you know, go out and buy something because it's, you know, powerful getting wins, but it's not your play style or the way you, if you're a shooting army person, don't go out and drop $7,000 on a painted Blood Angels army. You're not going to have fun. Probably. Anyways, that's it.
Leads us segue into what we're going to talk about next is another advantage as a meta chaser is exposure to more play styles. Now, I tell people this constantly. I tell my community all the time, not my community, the community rather, right? Play a different army, like the points that we were kind of harping on before. Try out a different faction, go on TTS, try to put together a list, read another faction, watch a battle report with another faction. And if you're done with the game early because you got dumpstered or you dumpstered your opponent, go to your friend's table and watch what your friend is playing against, right? There are so many opportunities. I always tell people this, right? It's no secret. I'm a tournament organizer in the world of Warhammer 40K. I have 3 times a month, 12 hours. So I have 36 hours to hang out with you all and watch you play. What do you think is I am increasing during that time? I'm understanding your armies a lot more. I'm always having to rule for your armies, right? So I always have a very good understanding of what is going on, not only in the meta for good TOs, right? But also what's going on in those particular factions. For example, for those of you who don't know, it hasn't been going crazy online. I've seen a couple places, but when I think it was, Grey Knights came out, the Paladins had a messed up points cost. You could buy like 4 of them for 180 and 5 or 7 of them was 225. Something that happened in the GW app. You start seeing these things when you're talking to the community, right? But you also have that possibility too. You can just come out and watch. You can cheerlead at the events, no matter whatever's local to you. Go out there and just watch. You don't always have to play the game. Sometimes you could just stand around and watch, right? Pause for those of you. But yes, you can stand around and watch, right? And have a good time and experience that way also. So what you think, Regal?
Well, to, you know, what Recon said here, which, by the way, great interaction, Recon. You are single-handedly keeping us afloat. Well,
yeah, I love it.
Max one anime here too, but, you know, it's good. It's good stuff. You know, I've personally had, you know, opponents tell me, oh, well, I didn't know Tyranids could do that, or, oh, this looks super cool. Like, man, I really want to get your list and play it, because they didn't know. You know, people didn't know that Gene Stealers could be used that way. Lictors can do, you know, what they do, shrinking loan op. No one's surprised by Exocrines, that, you know, but other Flyrants with their defensive ability to take an attack away from an entire unit. Yeah, no, I do the same thing. I, like you said, I have gone and watched, you know, other tables. At team events, I'll pay attention to the tables next to me. And, you know, just like people ask me, I'll ask people about their armies if I haven't played them a whole lot. Of like, hey, could you, you know, tell me about this or that? Or like, hey, what's the synergy here? Or I'll ask people, you know, how do you, you know, deploy this type of unit? What do you use this for? Like, animes help me understand Tau immensely with ghost keels and how they work, and, you know, how their blanking damage thing interacts. And then, of course, you know, that's the downside to this is, again, back to the kind of the first point, is that tunnel vision. Yeah. Like I said, I played a lot of shooting armies in the beginning, particularly Knights and Tau, back when shield drones did shield drone things. And so I was used to facing armies that just wouldn't die. I couldn't wound Knights, but on 6s back then, I couldn't kill a single broadside or riptide because they had 45 drones defending them. But yeah, it's so when I played other armies like Space Marines or even Custodes, and our units started dropping because I was so used to putting in such overwhelming numbers, I kind of had to like rebalance what I was used to for damage thresholds.
Max said no diddy. Love it.
And I've been here too. I'm getting wrecked, but man, you're making it look fun. I've been on the other side of that where people have wrecked me, just come up and just obliterate. I played a Necron guy who played a list that I never would have thought I would have liked. It was like 3 Doomsday Arcs, the big Tesseract Volt when you could still teleport that around, the Silent King, and he was just like teleporting and tabling me with guns, and I'm like, I'm not a shooting player, but this looks fun, man. You're just duck hunting me. And vice versa. Me and Recon, like I said, we've played, and he's been like, not to call him out, but he's been like, yeah, I kind of want to get your list and run it at someone and figure it out. And same thing with anime. I've helped him design sisters lists, and I'm like, I'd play that list, honestly.
Yep.
Oh, there is
gives you different play styles, man. You learn different play styles. You learn to play the game differently. Same thing that I've done throughout my experience. No, not I haven't met anyone that has played like Necrons for the past 10 years only. I've never met anyone who has a particular faction they've only ever played, right? So I've jumped throughout the years of different factions, but jumping from different factions, you learn to be better at shooting, better at close combat, better at positioning, better at deployment, better at repositioning, right? You start understanding rules you've never interacted with before, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I play Death Guard. I have every single rule now. I have Advance in Charge. I have Feel No Pain. I have this. I have that, right? I have 6-inch Deep Strike. I have the ability to play maybe Subterranean Assault. I could do 6-inch Deep Strikes with an aura that allows everything within that aura to reroll charges, right? So you start knowing all these things because you're playing against it consistently, or you're playing with it, right? No diddy. And with that being said, right? If you're from a different area and you're not really venturing around, you might have a different meta too. Like Will was saying earlier, he was talking about EC and how well he's doing with his EC in his current meta. It might be in your current area why your EC is doing so well. In our current meta, EC is not performing so well. A lot of people are not performing. That's not to say that the army is good or bad. That just means a lot of people are not taking advantage of whatever perks it might have and actually applying it to the current meta right now. A lot of people I've seen who do use it have been dropping Fulgrim. So it's all about adjustment and what we talked about earlier. So adjusting.
And on that topic, actually, great segue. It's like we're getting good at this. It's not just armies. There are different play styles within the same army. You can play Tyranids, the Vanguard style. I am sneaky, hit and run, glass hammer style. But you could also play Invasion Fleet, the more generalist army with the Feel No Pains and recursion of Gaunts and, like I said, sustained or lethals in your preferred target. You could play Subterranean, which is even glassier of a hammer. That's like a glass cannon. Assimilation Swarm is for a tough bug where you want to imitate death. So there are, and same with World Eaters. You could go the MSU route. You could go big bricks of things. You could do the Jackal Horde with a couple Demon Princes. So it isn't just army to army. Even within armies, you can Eldar, a great example, from anything from all Rangers to all Wraiths.
Yep.
To all vehicles. So the only exception is Knights. Sorry, you have like 2 effective data sheets, T10 or 11 or T9. I know there's still a T12 net out there. I don't care. But so it isn't just faction to faction. It's even detachment and unit choice that can still, because like Space Marines, for example, not Death or Black Templars or Dark Angels, but just Gladius to what's the Advanced in Charge one? Storm something.
Advanced in Charge for Stormlance you're talking about for Space Marines?
Stormlance, yeah. So you have Gladius, Stormlance. Firestorm just got a new fresh layer of paint. So you don't have to switch factions per se. If the detachments could still, dictate your play styles and what you're playing against. If you play against only Gladius Space Marines, maybe ask your friend, hey, or you're only running Gladius, maybe try running Stormlands, try running Firestorm,
Yep.
And this is how people get to net list. This is how, the new biggest thing happens is experimentation and finding out. Because metas only evolve when people try something new. If no one ever tries anything new, nothing ever goes anywhere. The same lists keep being played.
First of all, I'm super excited that you're going to have a semi-spicy list for teams. But I wanted to kind of touch on that as well. There's another level when you do teams, right? And how you construct your armies, detachments you're taking for that as well. So that's a whole nother level that we've done before. We've talked about teams. Yeah. Tried 6 last week and then doing 0. Yeah, no, I totally get it.
And I told you, don't tell anyone on this. I'm saving it for a surprise. But I told you I'm also looking at a team's list that, I'm going to tell anyone who wants to be on my team what I'm running. And if they have faith or just going for fun, they can join me. But it's not very competitive, possibly, but I'm going to have a ton of fun running it.
And sometimes that's all that matters, right? If not all the time. Your wants and your goals, your aspirations for what you want out of this game is up to you. So now speaking of which, right, what's up to you? Meta chasing advantages. Another advantage is social buzz and hype factor, right? So obviously it draws attention. People start seeing you with this new faction already painted up. You're bringing it to a GT super major and you win. You obviously get that clout, right? And then you get your clout chasers. So don't get me started with clout chasers, but basically that's what ends up happening as an advantage as being a meta chaser. You get publicity.
Well, there's also at the table the intimidation factor.
Yeah.
Because a good example right now is Knights. If I go up against Canis and 12 dogs, whether that person's a lifetime Knight player or a just doing it because it's good right now. Look, Votan remains to be seen if there's clout. So I'll give you a pass on this one. I think their book is good and has depth. If you get the clout, I'm willing to give it to you. Lewis is a hater, though. He won't. He'll call you up being a clout chaser. But
yes, I will.
A good example is, last year I went to Crucible. My first match was Purge the Foe against, unnerved Bringers of Flame Sisters. I had no idea who the guy was. Just saw the mission, saw the army, saw the detachment, said fuck. He had the castigators, he had the ball guns, he had the dominions, and I'm just like, fucking send and hope.
And sometimes you don't even get that far. You just see the name, you're like, shit, it doesn't matter what they're piloting. It's gonna be
that same event. I played a very nice gentleman from Art of War on stream for the first time ever, and I'm like, I just looked at the name and looked at the army, and I'm like, fuck it, we bomb. Let's go.
Yep.
And the sisters, I ended up winning against a very nice guy, Mike Museni. He's been here before. Got my butt kicked. And you know what? He was a gentleman, and he earned that victory for sure. Coincidentally, a faction specialist in Chaos, but specifically Thousand Sons. So yeah, there is that not just the clout factor, but also, if you're running Recon is I know him as a Knight player. He also plays Grey Knights and even some Space Marines and even some World Eaters, but I know him mainly as a Knight player. So if he walks up to me rocking Canis and 12 dogs, I'm like, all right, number one, fuck you. But number two, glad to see you get to, do what you want to do. But yeah, so I think that there is certainly the cloud aspect. There are people who run the new hotness just to have people look at them and be like, well, look what I got. But there is also playing what you love.
World Eaters, sir, not Space Marines.
I know about your secret Marine project, okay? We'll talk off air about it. But I'm happy to be wrong. The less people who play Space Marines...
Here's my special World Eaters gift. Yeah, baby.
um,
For the blood god.
but yeah, so there is, that also, and it's, no one's like, none of the people I played were trying to intimidate me with their lists. And even actually, me and Recon's first game ever, it was a practice game. Like you said a couple points ago, if you're not playing or you get done early, watch or, hang out. That's me and him did. We had to buy round at a team event. We played each other. First game ever. And he brought knights. And I'm like, I told him straight up, I'm like, I don't feel good about this, but let's go. Shadow
which sounds like our next bullet point to wrap these up. Another meta chaser advantage is finding easier games by finding more partners because you have the meta list, right? When you have the meta list, the new hotness, everybody wants to play against you because they want to test it out, see how they can beat it. So you go out there, you bring it to the store, people are going to be intimidated, they're going to complain, and they're going to cry. And then the other 50% of the people are going to be like, listen, let's get this game in. I want all the smoke. I need to figure this out, regardless if I win or lose. And that's the type of person that I am. I want all the smoke. Yep. I want to try to figure it out. Listen, when everyone was swimming in fucking tears for the orcs when they dropped the tactical brigade, okay, I was playing against that army with 60 looters. I played against it twice. I ended up losing twice. One was by 3 points. One was by 1 point, right? That was only because I was playing against a pilot who knew exactly what he was doing with that broken ass list, and I was still coming close. Didn't beat him, probably play a third game, maybe 8 out of 9 times. I beat that individual, but still, I wanted to smoke. I wanted to figure out exactly what it did. It got nerfed too fast to even really matter, but I took the challenge, right? I took the Pepsi challenge, man. Don't be scared. Don't be scared, people. Don't be scared.
Yeah, no, I do the same thing. I have a buddy who has Eldar, anime I asked him to practice against his sisters a couple times. And you're right. Yeah, if you have the list, you accept that you become, the benchmark. If you, if let's say Recon walks into a store with his, Canis and 12 knights, 12 armigers, people look at him and be like, hey, let me bring my new Firestorm against you, see how it does, just because that you're the mark to beat.
Brilliant. Start intimidate him right at the table, right? Listen, I have a rail gun in the car.
If me and Anime ever play each other again in an event, I'm gonna hold him to that. I play melee armies, he normally doesn't. I'm like, all right, let's deploy on the line. 30 Gene Stealers get advance and charge and scout. Let's go, me and you.
He's been playing those Chaos Knights.
I don't care. I have no fear.
I have no fear, senor. All right, going on to faction specialist advantages. So you optimize your deployment and movement, kind of what we were talking about before, right? You know the faction's positioning tricks better than anyone. So if you're doing a mirror match, right? So the kind of the point that I wanted to bring up to that. If you're doing a mirror match and you understand your faction a whole hell of a lot better, you're not the new guy just picking it up. You're the faction specialist, right? Then you're going to have a better game against that individual, and you might actually end up schooling and educating your op. So
first I was waiting for a good point to bring this up, but now looks like a good time. Where he said, playing specifically my list, it forces you to become a better player. And same with Thousand Sons. And it's not just, my list. It's, the army Tyranids in general makes you be better because there's not a lot of invulns, not a lot of high toughness things. So your safety net is very low. Yep. But like you said, and like I alluded to earlier, my many losses, I got very good at positioning, pre-measuring. When I'm focused, I'm good at deployment. Not always. Sometimes I get a bit ADHD brained and just screw it up. But like I said, my lictors, I'm very good at infiltrating. Not, meme-worthy deployment like Gene Stealers. I am an absolute menace, I've heard from many people. I don't think so, but I've been told. And that's just because of game after game. I know playing as a faction specialist, it's a lot easier to feel the momentum of the game. Because you know when your army still has gas in the tank, and you know when you're getting on E. And the outer bonus of this is you can look at your opponent if you know their army, and you can tell as well. Because I've played Knight so many times, I can tell when a Knight army is running out of gas. Like, the board might look like they're doing fine, but their armigers are, 15, 16 inches away from an objective and can't advance, shoot, and charge. And all... Jeez. Oh, that's fun. Done in 40 G. Lewis, sorry. I'll finish my. What would you do as a TO if two people came to you in less than in like three-quarters of an hour? Like, we're done. Here's our scores.
I don't want to one up you, dude. I have an amazing story that's like infamous.
Just orc on orc violence. We're done. But no. So there is, and I've actually had friends of mine, because and this is kind of a bonus you can give to the community by being a faction specialist. Completely just as like an unintended byproduct. Good collateral, we'll call it. Where Anime, our mutual friend of ours, Brian, and even to a certain extent other buddies of mine in various teams I've been on, have a good friend of ours, JT, have gone into Tyranid matchups, and specifically with him as well, Tau matchups, because his best friend plays Tau as a Tau faction specialist, and can absolutely just dog walk them even in disadvantageous matchups, because they play with people who are faction specialists, so they have that deeper level understanding, even though they don't play the army themselves.
I agree. And on to the last 2 points. I'm just going to combine these together for Meta Chasers. So we're done with the faction specialist. I think we all know what a faction specialist is, right? Rather emotional investment into that, or you're always just playing that faction and that's detachment all the time. A Meta Chaser, it's going to be someone who's always looking for that win, that extra new faction where they can go into the game and get more accolades. And for the last 2 points, it's going to be can do surprise and sudden switches, right? So you can surprise people with sudden switches. Like I told you that story about that guy, right? He saw me with Harlequins, even though I was a faction specialist at that point. He saw me switch, and that can kind of throw people off. They don't understand exactly what I'm capable of doing now by changing those factions. And better at rules exploitation. By playing multiple armies, you spot game-wide loopholes a lot faster too, because you know of them. You've already exposed them in the game, and then now playing against your opponents, you understand those loopholes, and you can interact with that game a lot better, right? So,
yep. There are, when Subterranean Assault came out, my mind went immediately to a sick combo that I saw some people talk about, other people dismiss, and I'm still thoroughly convinced of its effectiveness. I played a couple games with it, but I just immediately knew, like me and generally we were on the phone yesterday for something like 40 minutes, and I was just like a solid 10 of them, which is me breaking down this Subterranean Assault, this unit, stratagem, like turn 1 deployment, turn 2, turn 3, you're tabled. And he was like, really? And I'm like, yeah. Like, I know him. He's like, oh, I'll here's what I can do. And then he's like, oh, I guess I'm just dead if I'm on the table. And I'm like, yeah.
Yep.
Unless you're nuts. But that's a whole other thing.
And that's just another cool thing, right? To have friends like you who I can call, and then you can talk about Tyranids that I don't play it, and have friends like a Grey Knights player that I know. We talk together. He teaches me, tells me Grey Knight things. We break down detachment, talk about units, all kinds, right? That's just great, man, to have people like that in the community. So thank you and to everyone.
Did you say someone talks to you about the Grey Knights?
Yes.
The Inquisition would like to know your location.
Alfarius is everywhere.
But, yeah, no. Whether you do, meta chase for whatever reason, or you choose to faction specialize, or even diversify over 3 or 4 armies, this hobby is about having fun. That is my highest priority for my opponent and the community I interact with. I choose to be a faction specialist, partly for money, partly because I love bugs. I love the way they play. I love how they force me to play. I love, their aesthetic. God, they're easy to paint. Thank you so much for that. But yeah, would play what you love, play what you like. Like I said, net list. I looked at a list of a guy. I think he came in second at the Tacoma Open. He was playing Vanguard with 30 Raveners, zero guns. Insane list. I'm going to test it out myself. It doesn't look like something I'm going to like, but I see the power. It's MSU, and it's just 7 units that are twin linked AP2 damage 2 strength 6.
And just loads of that.
With some Lictor support and still all of the Vanguard goodness of picking stuff up and dropping them back down, advanced charging. Yeah, I'm gonna try it. I've already made a couple tweaks to that list myself, about 500 points skewed towards the way I want to play, but I'm gonna try it his way. Try it, do my changes, see what works better. Try some more subterranean assault games, because I got Crucible coming up, and I got to figure out what's gonna work. And then before that last minute MFM drops, and you're like, all right, guys, new data slate. Let's do Friday morning. This is what we're running. Thanks, Lewis. Thanks.
Hey, but I will adjust. If people remember what I did for Grand Onslaught 9, I'll probably end up doing the same thing. I'm not going to say it publicly because I don't know if I'm going to end up doing that, so I don't want people to hold me towards it. But there's going to be
a troll. I do not speak for him in his TO events. I am just messing with him as his friend, to be very clear. Do not come back in a month and a half and be like, oh, but Reigel said. I'll eat your mums.
Exactly. You would be biomass for him, okay?
Your models, right?
Gotta love it. So with that being said, right, if you're going to be a meta chaser, faction specialist, whatever you want to be, there's advantages to doing both. Don't think of it as having negative connotation one way or another. It is very comical to see people meta chasing and then losing because they think that they're going to end up performing well because they see net lists and they don't actually put the work in. I don't like laughing at people who try to do something greater for themselves, right? By taking a net list. But if you're not going to put the work in and you're going to complain, son, just don't. Just don't even try it because you're just a meta chaser who's just doing things because you want to complain about it or whatever. But enjoy what you do. Either way, if you're a faction specialist and you want to be emotional, love your army, or meta chase and just play everything. I think that I'm an in-betweener. I think that, and I've done it before. So enjoy what you like.
There is one more bonus. As we said, there was a kind of a pseudo unseen. You actually did get to it for being a meta chaser. But there is a bonus for being a faction specialist. And that is the the in-hobby recognition of Best in Faction. Both at any local event you go to, if the TO gives out Best in Faction awards. And also the hobby tracking, or not hobby, the faction tracking of events over the various circuits that are tracked. The SGA, the Southern Gaming Alliance, the ITC as well. You get recognition that way, so there is an actual tracked recognition of, oh, this is the top Eldar player, the top Tyranid player, the top Space Marine player. So even if you don't have the get up and gusto to go to the big opens and get top 10 ITC rankings of all time, you could be I was top 7 Tyranids player last year. I went to 5 events. I have no idea how I got that high. So
scored a lot of points in a lot of events.
Yep, there is that as well.
How to plug that in?
This is true. If you meta chase, you get hit with the nerf hammer a lot more than a faction specialist.
More often than not.
If you keep playing what's at the top, you're going to keep getting smacked down again.
Unless you just have bad luck like me and you play all the armies that end up getting broken and you play and you're like, and you're not even doing the things that are broken. Like, I didn't even do the bloodletters things for Demonkin for World Leaders. I didn't even do that. I did it. Mine wasn't even to fight. Mine was to hold objectives, and they were like, "Oh, I'm going to take it away from you." I digress.
First of all, that was the more powerful asset of them, so don't you dare try to make it sound like you were doing the least offensive thing. Number one.
It was nothing.
Number two, it was an on-demand 20 OC if something died in a game of Warhammer.
Hey, it did help me play the game better, yes.
I am so mad that when the Slaanesh detachment came out, they nerfed the data sheets, which had not been played for most of the edition for 2 years.
Yep.
Put the data sheets back. The detachment was the problem, not Keepers of Secrets.
Yep.
I'm done. I'm good.
And that'll be a show for another day. You know what? I think you just gave us a great idea for the next show. So the next live show will probably just be us ranting about stuff like that.
We're going to find the saltiest people we know and bring them on.
The saltiest people.
Everyone get your electrolyte water. You're going to get dehydrated.
So about 2 Imperial Agents players, probably 5 Tau players.
Now, look. Bring a Drukhari player, a Grey Knight player.
Grey Knights are fine now. They're fine.
Go on after the show. Go on the Grey Knight Reddit. You'll see. They are not happy. I don't know why. They're not happy.
For amusement, I will do what you have asked me to for my own personal amusement after this show. I'm gonna totally do that.
I lied. One reason they're not happy: no more Drago. Spoilers.
Oh my gosh, no more Drago. Stop it.
That's all I got.
Thank you, my people. Thank you so much. As always, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for hanging out to the very end. We love everyone who participates. The Maxes, the Animes, the Recons, the Wills, the everyone in the community. I hope I'm not missing names and disappointing faces, right? So make sure, stick by. In 2 weeks, we'll have something new, and maybe we will be complaining about other things. Stay tuned and locked in. And don't forget, Onslaught Gaming 40K, where victory is just a strategy away. Have a great night, everyone. Peace out, Regal. Night. Where is it? I can't find it. This is a blooper reel.